Hello, good afternoon. Rick Pitino, the coach of Louisville, who is one of the most prominent basketball coaches, not just in the country right now, college basketball coaches, probably one of the most prominent and successful college basketball coaches ever. He has been fired today. He has been fired by Louisville along with their athletic director. And this comes in the wake of the FBI arrest yesterday, where yesterday the FBI arrested 10 people, including 4 assistant college basketball coaches for corruption. And today, as fallout from that, Rick Pitino has now been fired by Louisville. Let me just make sure you can hear me. College, great. So now, an interesting thing about this is yesterday, nobody from Louisville was one of the people arrested yesterday, which was an interesting twist here. But in the criminal complaint that the federal authorities filed, it was mentioned that a school, an unnamed school, an assistant coach from that school was on tape handing over a bribe that was intended to be given to a player, a high school player, to get that player to go to the school. Experts say that school is Louisville. So supposedly there is FBI secret surveillance tape of a Louisville assistant coach actually handing over a bribe to get a player to go to Louisville, a high school player. And so Louisville is, while nobody from Louisville has been arrested, apparently Louisville is implicated in this scandal. And look, as we said yesterday, 10 people were arrested yesterday, but the FBI said their investigation is ongoing and more arrests could come. And who knows, they said they have, the FBI said yesterday that their investigation had been this covert investigation and that they had had a couple undercover agents and they'd had a cooperating witness, somebody on the inside. I don't know if it was an agent or a manager or somebody, but somebody who was cooperating with the FBI and telling them, an informant telling them everything that was going on. So who knows? And the FBI said they had hundreds, I believe they said something like hundreds of hours of surveillance tape or something like that, or hundreds of, they said they had wiretaps, and they said, was it hundreds of wiretaps? They said hundreds of something. I can't remember whether it was hours or wiretaps, but who knows what other information the FBI already has. And now that you have people arrested, 10 people arrested, who knows what those people will say and talk about to mitigate any kind of sentence they might get. If you were arrested yesterday, you might think, well, I don't want to go to jail for X number of years. I want to reduce my sentence by talking to the FBI. So there could be, we could see many more people involved here, in more schools, more coaches, maybe more players, more agents, managers, clothing, sneaker reps. Who knows who's involved here? And some experts said yesterday they were hearing, people who cover college basketball for a living. I heard a couple different people say they had heard that this very well might go further, a lot further. And a lot of people they were talking to in the world of college basketball were quite worried about what might happen next. So today, Louisville announced that they fired their athletic director and Rick Pitino, their coach. This is a huge deal to fire your coach, like a coach like Rick Pitino. These guys make tons of money, and they're really one of the most prominent figures at the school. To fire him is a huge deal. Also, remember, they didn't even wait to let the legal process play out to fire Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino hasn't been arrested by the FBI. He hasn't even been accused of a crime, but they're firing him. They're making a statement that they don't want Rick Pitino at the school anymore. And part of this, I'm guessing, is that Rick Pitino has had a couple of scandals while he's been at Louisville. He's been there for 16 years. One scandal a couple of years ago was when the NCAA investigators uncovered that there were years of like these stripper and escort parties where college basketball recruits would come to Louisville and they would be taken to these parties where strippers and escorts were hired. And assistant coaches supposedly were the ones who did the hiring, but Rick Pitino did get suspended by the NCAA for this. He was supposed to miss several games this year already. This suspension was just handed down by the FBA, I believe, over the by the NCAA, I believe, over the summer. So there was that scandal where there were escort and stripper parties going on for basketball recruits at Louisville. And also, I believe it was 2009, there was a scandal where Rick Pitino was having an affair with, if I'm getting the details right, the wife of an equipment manager at Louisville, and that came out because the equipment manager's wife was extorting him for money, and then she got arrested for it. So, but perhaps with all these scandals, and then with this coming out yesterday about supposedly a Louisville assistant coach being on tape handing over a bribe for a high school player, the administration at Louisville might have just felt we can't stand behind this person anymore. Now, maybe they're trying also Louisville to head off sanctions. All these schools involved in this corruption scandal that just broke yesterday with the FBI making its arrests. The NCAA hasn't taken any action on this, and I'm sure the NCAA it'll take a little time. But I'm guessing schools that were charged with bribes, and eventually I'm guessing some people, if they have video evidence and surveillance evidence, I'm guessing there might be some convictions of bribery and corruption. Any school whose employees are convicted of bribery and corruption, bribing high school players to come to the school, that kind of thing, I'm guessing you very well could see very strong sanctions by the NCAA on these schools. So when Louisville right now fires its coach and its athletic director today, are they trying to maybe head off worse sanctions from the NCAA and like sending a message to the NCAA saying, look, we're taking care of it. Don't come down really hard on us. The ultimate penalty for these schools would be it's called the death penalty, where you just kill the program and you say no more basketball program for 10 years or something like that. Louisville does not want that to happen. These programs are gigantic moneymakers and attention getters for these schools. But who knows? We very well might see some schools get the death penalty, their basketball programs, because of this scandal. So we're going to talk about it with you. And also in a few minutes, we might be able to bring you, there's supposed to be some kind of press conference at Louisville about this. We're going to see if we can bring it to you. I can't guarantee we can, but if we can, we will. But also we're going to give you more news updates about this, and I'd also love to hear from you. So if you have thoughts on this firing, give me a shout. If you have thoughts on this firing, give me a shout at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. And I just need to text my boss. So I want to give you a little update here and talk about some of the details of the story. So let's go to this. ESPN story right here, and I'll give you that one. So this ESPN story, and they'll have some more details in here. Head coach Rick Pitino and athletic director Tom Jurich out at Louisville. Louisville men's basketball coach Rick Pitino is out, a source tells ESPN's Michael Eaves. Athletic director Tom Jurich is also out at Louisville, a source tells ESPN's Jeff Goodman, after the program was linked to a federal investigation into fraud and corruption in recruiting. Jurich and Pitino met Wednesday morning with Louisville interim president Greg Postel. After the meetings, is it Postel? Postel informed reporters that the school would hold a news conference at 1 p.m. We're going to try to get that to you. I'm not sure if we can. And noted that Pitino and Jurich would not attend. On Tuesday, we talked about this. 10 men, including a top Adidas executive, and 4 assistant coaches were charged with using hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes to influence star athletes' choice of schools, shoe sponsors, agents, even tailors. Federal prosecutors said at least 3 top high school recruits were promised payments of as much as $150,000 using money supplied by Adidas to attend 2 universities sponsored by the shoe company. Louisville's president later confirmed the school was part of the investigation. I heard the other school was Miami that they're talking about there. It marked the latest case of Pitino and his Louisville program being in the news for impropriety. Here are the 2 other scandals I talked about earlier. In 2010, the coach testified in a federal extortion trial involving Taryn Cipher, who went to prison after trying to get money and gifts from him in exchange for silence. The married Pitino admitted to having sex with a woman in a closed Louisville restaurant in 2003. In 2015, the NCAA launched an investigation into a sex for pay scandal organized by former Louisville assistant coach Andre McGee that could force the Cardinals to vacate their 2013 national title and dozens of victories. For that, Pitino would have been suspended for Louisville's first 5 ACC games this season. That all came after the school, hoping to sue the NCAA and temper the sanctions, self-imposed a 2016 NCAA tournament ban. So they were not allowed to be in the NCAA tournament because of this wrongdoing that had happened there, and they were trying to get the NCAA off their back. But Tuesday's news trumped the others. Okay, and we just to summarize the news yesterday, the four assistant coaches were arrested yesterday, one from USC, one from Oklahoma State, one from Arizona, one from Auburn. These are some of the allegations from yesterday. Pitino, 65, released a statement after after news of the charges was announced Tuesday, and Pitino had said, "These allegations come as a complete shock to me. If true, I agree with the U.S. Attorney's Office that these third-party schemes initiated by a few bad actors operated to commit a fraud on the impacted universities and their basketball programs, including the University of Louisville," he said. "Our fans and supporters deserve better, and I am committed to taking whatever steps are needed to ensure those responsible are held accountable." So Rick Pitino in his statement basically said, "I know nothing about this stuff that came out yesterday." I don't know if Rick Pitino knew anything about the stuff that came out yesterday. What I will say is I've heard a number of people, basketball journalists and players, former players and that kind of thing, experts on this, say on places like ESPN that very often in these type of things the coaches do know, but they can always claim that they didn't know because the assistant coaches are carrying it out. So that's what a lot of experts say about this kind of thing. I don't know specifically if Rick Pitino knew about any of this stuff, but he said he didn't. Let's see. Also, just 3 years ago, Pitino had railed against the influence of athletic shoe companies in the recruiting process, ending a 2014 news conference. I think the press briefing is live now. I think we're going to go to the press conference right now.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. The allegations in a criminal investigation being conducted by the United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations
right now
are troubling to all of us. While the investigation is continuing and no charges have been filed against the University of Louisville or any of its employees, the allegations are serious. It is vital for this university to strictly adhere to NCAA rules and, of course, federal law. Doing nothing would be a tacit endorsement of unethical and criminal behavior. Board Chairman Grissom and I spoke to both Athletic Director Tom Jurich and head men's basketball coach Rick Pitino this morning and informed them of the following decisions. Effective immediately, Coach Pitino has been placed on an unpaid administrative leave. Coach Pitino's employment will be reviewed at a later date. We will continue throughout this process to follow university personnel policies. Effective immediately, Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics Tom Jurich has been placed on a paid administrative leave. The leave will continue until the Board of Trustees has an opportunity to evaluate his continued employment at or before its regularly scheduled meeting on October 18th. One student athlete is being notified that he is being withheld from NCAA activities, inclusive of practices and games, indefinitely. This decision will protect the interests of both the student and the University of Louisville. We will work quickly to name an interim head men's basketball coach and an interim athletics director. We hope to have those announcements within 48 hours. Decisions regarding other coaches named as part of this investigation will be made by the interim athletics director. As I stated yesterday, we remain committed to cooperating fully with law enforcement and with the NCAA. It's important for all of us to remember that the University of Louisville continues to be a place where vital education takes place, where we perform cutting-edge research, and where we participate in marvelous community engagement activities. While this may be a dark day for the University of Louisville, better days are ahead. Thank you. Chairman Grissom.
I only want to add that the Board of Trustees unanimously support the actions taken today with respect to Coach Pitino and Tom Jurich. It was unanimous. Do questions?
We'll take just a few questions.
Dr. Posta, who was the player?
No names were provided in the criminal complaint, and so it would be inappropriate at this point for us to embellish the report as submitted to us by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
What's the difference between unpaid and paid between the two?
There are different employers for the two individuals. They have different contracts, and our goal in all processes is to honor the contracts of our employees and to honor the university's HR policies.
Dr. Coastal, who will run the program, the basketball program today? Who is running it as we speak?
As I indicated, we will be making that decision today and tomorrow, and we'll have an announcement this week about interim leadership positions.
Dr. Coastal, the larger picture, what are you going to do with the university, the arena, the NCAA sanctions? Do you think there'll be any ramifications happening with the death penalty or anything situated with that?
You know, I don't think it's appropriate to speculate about those things. All I can tell you is that the University of Louisville is fully committed to transparency and to working with law enforcement, to working with the NCAA. We've done that all along in the issues we've been dealing with so far with the NCAA. So we will continue to cooperate and work with them through this process. I don't think we can speculate.
Doesn't bother you?
Well, it bothers me a great deal, but I can't speculate at this point on what that means. Yeah.
Dr. Coastal, has any other senior members of the athletic staff been put on probation or anything?
There'll be a discussion about that in conjunction with the criminal complaint that we have received, and announcements regarding the potential for other individuals will be made by the interim athletics director. I'm sorry, there were...
Why an administrative leave and not an outright dismissal?
Well, so this is a typical way that universities deal with a situation where there is an ongoing criminal investigation. The criminal investigation is not complete, and individuals at this institution have not been formally charged. So this is a typical response to that type of circumstance.
The unpaid leave for Coach Pitino suggests a greater severity here. Why that?
That could be your interpretation. Again, I'm just indicating that we are following our personnel policies and the individual's contracts.
Do you expect charges to be brought against anyone at the University of Louisville?
I have no way to know that. We have not been notified of such by the FBI or by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Have you got contact with individual, either Coach Pitino or Mr. George, to return to their duties?
As an individual on an administrative leave, they are not able to function in their current roles during that period of administrative leave.
What contact has the school had with the NCAA since this news broke yesterday?
We notified them yesterday, and that was all that was necessary at this point. I'm sure there will be future conversations.
Will the school conduct its own investigation considering there are two coaches alleged to be involved, assistant coaches?
We're seeking advice as to the appropriate way to do that. We want to make sure that anything we do is not against the policies of the U.S. Attorney's Office, and so we're seeking guidance about the appropriate way for us to look into this matter in parallel to their investigation.
Can you expand upon the criteria that you'll use to judge whether or not Pitino will remain, and can you describe the decision-making process?
I think that's a hard thing to do because as we go forward, information will be forthcoming about the investigation. We'll be learning more in the days and weeks ahead, and that will help inform future decision-making.
Has the FBI been on Louisville's campus to interview anybody here?
We believe they have. They have not made direct contact with our office, but we understand they have been on campus.
Was Tom George offered the opportunity to keep his job if he were to fire Rick Pitino himself?
That was not a discussion that took place.
Dr. Coastal, I'm just curious your initial reaction when you found the news, anger, embarrassment, just where did you come from when you learned that all this occurred?
I would say that I was more angry than embarrassed. Obviously, embarrassment is part of it as well. But I think people who have watched what the University of Louisville has been busy doing in calendar year 2017 will understand that we have been working day and night, committed to make sure this place is a wonderful place for our students and our faculty and staff, and we're making a tremendous amount of progress. And when something like this happens, it makes me angry that we have more work to do to get where we're going to get. It's not going to prevent us from getting where we want to get, but it's another stumbling block, and yes, I was angry about it.
Dr. Coastal, did you get to talk to the basketball team, the current team that's supposed to start practicing in a couple days, and inform them, or who has spoken to those
I have not had a chance to do so yet. We're just working through the details of this as it's a actively emerging story.
Are you guys aware of the names of the assistant coaches that were also mentioned in the indictment?
Again, I can't embellish on the criminal complaint that we have received because that's the role of the U.S. Attorney's Office to provide that level of detail.
So are you guys aware of those names of the assistant coaches?
We have information about that, yes.
What are you looking for in the interim head coach for basketball and for AD?
I think we're looking for someone with integrity, someone with a knowledge of the a knowledge of the sport, someone who can have the respect of the players and help us move along. We've got talented players, that hasn't changed, and so there's no reason this team can't have a good season.
Dr. Postal, to be completely clear, are you and Chairman Grissom leaving open the possibility that Tom Jurich and Rick Pitino could return to their jobs at some point in the future?
An administrative leave is an administrative leave. It is not a dismissal from a permanent position. So that is one of the possible outcomes, yes.
Did either man offer to resign?
No, they did not.
Chairman Grissom, did you meet with the Board of Trustees privately to vote? You said that the Board of Trustees was unanimously behind this decision. Have you had a meeting in the last 24 hours?
We have not. I called everyone on the board within the last 24 hours to get their position on it, and these are telephonic conversations, no meeting.
What was your reaction to hearing the news? Because covering Board of Trustees meetings and foundation meetings, you knew you were starting to get out from the cloud of the situation with the foundation, and now this.
Well, I came home to my wife. I'm sorry. I came home last night and said once again to my wife, you can't make this up. So it was terrible disappointment. I really felt like we were on the trajectory that was positive and could take the university to the next level. So like Dr. Postal, I'm disappointed. There's a little bit of anger. It's not a happy day for the university.
Dr. Postal, there are several students here and watching, and they want to see leadership from you in this moment. And a lot of them said that leadership means cleaning house. What do you say to those students?
Well, I think it should be obvious that that's what we're doing. I mean, we've taken an action sufficient to bring a whole room full of media people together to make a very clear statement that we're not going to tolerate what we have learned about. So my answer to them would be we are doing everything in an appropriate way and will continue to do so as we learn more about the situation.
Do you know when you want to have a full-time, a permanent AD in place? Do you know?
There'll be an interim appointment made this week.
Will that interim be, would you like to have one for the whole school year? Or for...
Well, until there's resolution to the current situation one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all. That's all we have time for today. Thank you. And I do have some news releases.
Chairman Grissom, did the Board of Trustees actually convene a meeting? You mentioned that all those boards in support of this. Was a meeting convened or were those individual conversations? Individual conversations.
Effectively, we clean house. There's resolution to the current
so that
situation
was
one way or
the
the
press
other.
conference from the authorities. I guess you could say the president of Louisville was giving that press conference. Also, I think the head of the board was there. But as we heard, Rick Pitino and the athletic director, Tom Jurich, have been placed on administrative leave, but effectively they're being fired. That's what's happened. A number of reports in the media have said the same thing, that effectively they are fired, Rick Pitino and the athletic director at Louisville. Interestingly, during that press briefing, a couple of things I found interesting there were that, first of all, the FBI, according to the president of Louisville, has been on the Louisville campus. The FBI has been on the Louisville campus. Also, it's interesting. Also, it shows you how important college basketball is there. That a number of people kept asking questions about well, who's the next coach going to be? Because they still have a season coming up, that starts in a few weeks. So there's all this interest in okay, Pitino's fired, but who's the next coach going to be? So it's just kind of odd in this. There's this huge corruption scandal and the head coach has been fired, and there's, supposedly video of one of the assistant coaches paying a bribe for a high school player to come to the school. And yet we have, in this press conference about this, we have several questions about all this interest about who's the next coach going to be? Let's move on to the season. So I found that interesting. What do you think about this? give me a shout on Twitter. Let me know. I'd like to hear from you. What do you think about the firing of Rick Pitino? Do you think this will go further in college basketball? Will there be other big coaches fired? Now we have 10 people arrested. Maybe they're going to talk about other things they know to reduce their sentences. This investigation has been going on for several years. There are wiretaps. There are secret videotapes. There could be other evidence out there from those. So will this go further now? We also have assistant coaches arrested from USC, from Arizona, from Auburn, from Oklahoma State. Will those assistant coaches try to get their possible sentence reduced by talking about things they know going on at their schools? Maybe they talk about their head coach, if the head coach did anything wrong. So this could get a lot bigger, even this scandal. And today this escalated quite quickly, because remember, nobody was arrested from Louisville yesterday. None of the 10 people arrested was from Louisville, and already today we have their coach Rick Pitino, one of the most prominent coaches in college basketball history, and their AD being fired. Give me one sec, guys, here. So again, I'd love to hear from you what you think about this. We're going to give you some more details here at Right Side Broadcasting on this story. But if you have comments, write to me on Twitter, at Lookner, at Lookner. So I want to see a couple other, if I can find any more information here. So this is from Sports Illustrated. They have Rick Pitino fired amid FBI investigation. AD Tom Jurich has been fired now too. I'm just seeing if they have any more details on this. Oh, this is Pitino. I guess a tweet of Pitino leaving when he was talking to. Was he talking to the president here? I think this might be Pitino leaving after meeting with the president. I'm not sure. It says President's Conference Room. Let's see this video here. This was posted by Marcus Green. I'll show you this again. This was posted by Marcus Green. So let's watch this again. Supposedly it's Pitino leaving after meeting with the president. Yeah, because it says President's Conference Room, so I believe that was today. And maybe he was told in that meeting he was going to be fired. Let's hear the audio. Hold on a second. Oops.
Still the coach of Louisville.
So again, that was reportedly video of Rick Pitino leaving his meeting with the president this morning, where he found out he was fired, and that was posted by Marcus Green. You can see his Twitter address there. And it's they're saying at Louisville they're trying to clean things up, but I really wonder, if we do have convictions of coaches and employees who worked at these schools for bribing high school players, and if we have videotape and wiretap of evidence about this kind of thing going on, and also coaches convicted, and also videotape and wiretap evidence of things like paying college players at these coaches accepting money at these programs, to get the high school players to sign with certain agents and certain, managers and stuff like that. Like, will we see colleges, big college basketball programs, prominent college basketball programs, get the death penalty for a certain number of years and be told you can't have a college basketball program for a certain number of years? Also, you might say, well, who cares about this? But there are kids at this school. There are a lot of kids playing for Rick Pitino right now who were recruited by Rick Pitino. And it kind of stinks for them, because you go to, if basketball is like your big thing in your life and you're trying to be a pro maybe, and you go to the school, you're choosing the school in a significant part based on who's coaching there. Now, if Rick Pitino isn't coaching there, and I'm presuming, maybe the coach, at least for now, is going to be some like assistant coach nobody's heard of or something like that. You might think, wow, that really hurts me as a player. I want to go play somewhere else. But there's all kinds of rules against students transferring and going to play somewhere else in the NCAA. So will the NCAA change their rules for these students? Will they give them an option to leave? But how could they even leave now? Because like it's so close to the season. So is some, it's just a giant mess with those students. And I feel bad for those students. There very well are I'm guessing could be innocent students there who just are caught up in this. And then, if schools get the death penalty, students who are already there, who maybe weren't involved with any of this, now they can't play for their school. So that's another thing that gets involved here too. But anyways, give me a shout if you have a thought on this. I am at Lookner, at Lookner on Twitter. James Copper writes in, the NCAA will come out with their action sometime by 2030. Based KY says, sad day for U of L fans and state of Kentucky. Coach Pitino is a legend here. Reap what you sow. Jesse C writes, this college sports corruption story / case will probably get bigger. Ironic that this comes after NFL's kneeling weekend. So, one other thing, I was wondering about, I tweeted out about this morning, is I've heard countless experts, former players, commentators, journalists say over the last 24 hours on places like ESPN, oh, this kind of stuff is widespread and happens all the time in college basketball and everybody knows it. So then the question becomes, why did the FBI get involved now? And by now, I mean since 2015. In 2015, a decision was made by the FBI to get involved with this. The FBI is, under the Justice Department. That would have been the Obama administration. I'm wondering, did the Obama administration have any say in this? Or was it maybe the people who ran the Justice Department at the end of the Obama administration? But clearly, a decision was made in the Justice Department to launch this big investigation of college basketball corruption. And why did that happen then? I'm not saying it's a bad thing that happened. I think it's, look, corruption anywhere, great, investigate it and root this stuff out. If it's against the law, it should be prosecuted and investigated. What I'm saying is, it's fascinating to me that all these experts are saying this has gone on for years and years and years and years, and everybody does it. But there's got to be some reason why, when you never saw arrest before, you're seeing them now, and this investigation was started a couple of years ago. So I'd really be interested in knowing. There must be some reason why this investigation was undertaken a couple of years ago and it was never undertaken before. I don't have an answer for you. I just think that's an interesting question to ask. Jonathan, let's see here. I don't know if he's watching this broadcast, but he responded to my tweet. My very funny friend, comedian friend Jonathan Solon said, somebody wasn't paid off, follow the money. Look, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but I think, what Jonathan says has some merit to it, where in this, sometimes in cases like this, if something isn't done for a long time and all of a sudden it gets done, is it that somebody wasn't paid off? Now, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything. I have no evidence that there were payoffs going on to not have an investigation. But there does seem that there would need to be an explanation for why suddenly the FBI got involved in this where they hadn't been involved before. Thank you, John Solon, for your comment. And I want to see if I can get any more information for you on this story. Let me do a quick search here and try to get you more information. So you're watching Right Side Broadcasting, and we will, we cover lots of news. More often than not, it's not, it's political news, and we don't focus on sports news per se, but when there's big sports news, we will cover it. And, if the scandal gets bigger, we will come on the air again. So if you're watching and you want to know when we're coming on the air with our breaking news coverage, our videos, you can subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell so you get a notification, although that didn't seem to work this morning. But subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell. And you can also follow us on Facebook at Right Side Broadcasting. We post videos on Facebook. And you can follow us on Twitter at RSB Network. Thanks to the moderators for moderating the chat in the chat rooms today. Much appreciated. Let's just see if I can find any new information here about this. Ooh, this isn't true. Ha, that's funny. I'm seeing a lot of jokey memes about this. Here's an interesting tweet. I guess this happened. Is this true? Busted Coverage reports. They say Rick Pitino gets fired, tells reporters they don't belong on this property, even though he doesn't either now. Oh, we have the little video posted by a tweet video. So let me show you this. Rick Pitino ironically tells reporters they don't belong on this property immediately after being fired. So this is from Busted Coverage. This is from Busted Coverage. That's who's showing this. Busted Coverage. And they say, Busted Coverage, it sounds like Rick Pitino has officially been fired as head coach of Louisville, which makes this video of him leaving the UL president's office even better than it already was about an hour ago. You don't belong on this property is a fantastic line. You don't belong on this property either. So this says, it's a post by Travis Ragsdale. And it says, Coach Pitino leaving practice facility would not answer my questions or somebody else's questions. So let's play this and see what this is.
Coach, can you tell us anything? Guys, you don't belong on this property.
Do you know if you're being fired today?
Are you being fired, Coach? Thank you, Coach, for your time. I appreciate it.
He did say you don't belong on this property. Let's hear that again.
Coach,
Can you tell us anything? Guys, you don't belong on this property.
do you know if you're being fired today?
Are you being fired, Coach? Thank you, Coach, for your time. I appreciate it.
So that was Rick Pitino leaving the practice facility today. And this is from Jeff Greer, who posted, no comment from Rick Pitino as he left his meeting with the interim Louisville president, Greg Postal, appeared misty-eyed. That was the meeting, apparently, where he was told he was going to be fired today. And Jeff Greer also posted this, Rick Pitino walking into the president's conference room before the meeting. And then Busted Coverage also posted this on their story. This is bustedcoverage.com just 2 weeks ago. That's from Busted College. And let's say I'm interested in seeing if we can find out any more details here. So CBS has a story up about it, CBS News. Let's see if they have anything more on any more details. Effectively fired as Louisville basketball coach. Is there any more details that we didn't know? I'm going over. No, it doesn't seem to be anything new here. So I'm just looking to see if I can find you any more updates about this. Let's see here. Jesse C. writes in, during the press briefing yesterday, didn't someone say that a complaint filed with the FBI started the investigation? I'm not sure. It's possible, Jesse C. But it's also, look, if there was a complaint, they didn't have to conduct an investigation. So, it's the fact that this was carried out for several years with all these resources by the FBI makes me wonder why now, if this was going on and widespread for so long, why now? Why was this done now? I'd be interested in knowing. All right, so I think we're going to wrap up our coverage of this right now. So Rick Pitino has been fired by Louisville as their basketball coach, along with their athletic director, Tom Jurich. I guess they were effectively fired. They were let go, put on administrative leave, but effectively they're fired. And, real big question right now is this investigation, this FBI investigation, are we going to have more arrests, more firings, more ramifications? Are witnesses, are people who were arrested going to talk and implicate other people? Is there more evidence the FBI has? They say their investigation is still ongoing. Maybe there's evidence they have. Well, look, from what we heard, they have a video of a Louisville assistant coach handing over bribe money, but nobody was arrested from Louisville yet. Will somebody from Louisville be arrested? We heard from the Louisville president that the FBI was on campus. So a lot more could happen with this scandal. It could get a lot bigger. And also if a lot of, prominent schools are now named in this scandal, Arizona, Auburn, Oklahoma State, Louisville, UMiami, and now UMiami wasn't named, but experts say they're one of the universities that was in the complaint. I left one out: USC, Arizona, Oklahoma State, Auburn, Louisville, and UMiami. Will there be others named? Will we end up at a point where the NCAA might think it's forced to have seasons where all these schools can't have programs? What will the NCAA do about it? NCAA, I assume, will start punishing. At some point, will start punishing schools. How bad are those punishments? Will people complain if the punishments aren't strong enough? So you're going to be hearing a lot more about the story in the future, and we'll bring you, if there's big news about it, we'll definitely come on the air live and bring it to you, as we do all the time with live breaking news. So subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell. Follow us on Facebook. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. I post about breaking news stuff, so even when I'm off the air, I will be posting news about this scandal, big news if it comes out. And also, if you do enjoy our broadcasts, we would ask you to please consider donating, because we are viewer supported. We can only stay on the air thanks to viewer donations. So if you'd like to donate, you can go to the YouTube chat room next to the broadcast and click on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat. Or you can go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Even small donations are welcome. They really help us. So we want to keep staying on the air and covering more news for you guys. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you to, I know Jude and Jan and JC were in the chat moderating. Thank you guys, and all the other moderators moderating the chats. And thanks to everybody who wrote in. And thank you for watching. We're going to have, by the way, for those of you who are interested, President Trump's speech is going to be at, on taxes, his tax proposal speech is going to be at 3:20 p.m. Eastern time. So we will be carrying that at Right Side Broadcasting. So if you want to hear the president's speech, I think he's going to propose his new tax plan. You can tune into us. That's going to be at 3:20 Eastern time. You can find the link to that at the Right Side Broadcasting YouTube site. But for now, I hope everybody has a good day. I am Steve Lookner. This has been Right Side Broadcasting's coverage of Rick Pitino being fired, and we will see you all soon. Have a good one.